And back with the Sons of American Legion West Point football report. And about the game Saturday, I agree with John that it's going to be a game that whichever team can play better defense is going to win. For Army, the difference will be, can they get 3 touchdowns or 4? A 4th touchdown in this game is going to be a big one because of the ball control offense of each team. They're very consistent. They know how to score off the running game. And that's consistent. The question is, who can make that extra touchdown? Who can get an interception or a fumble recovery? They'll give them a short field to get that extra touchdown and lead. And as you said, Navy's got a stronger passing game, and it's going to be up to the Army defense to stop that. They've got to get a pass rush, and the secondary led by Ryan England really has to do the job. The rest of it is just the linebackers being able to control the outside, stop the pitch play, which they know how to do. Army's cornerbacks have been very effective this year, and then, of course, the linebackers. But what's really been impressive for Army, the 2 inside linebackers, Cole Christensen and James Nautical, who both moved into the positions this year, but have really grown as the season's gone along. So they really have the ability to stop the inside running game, stop the Navy fullback and the quarterback doing a dive play. So I think that's really kind of a key. Then it's just, to the outside linebackers. I'm looking for a big game from Ken Brinson.
Well, I really think that your first point is dead on target. I think Nautical and Christensen are the keys because they've adjusted so well this season. They've combined for 160 tackles this year, and they lead the team in terms of tackles, and I think it's going to really come down to what they can do. One thing I'm worried about, though, Ken, is against North Texas, we had a situation where Army made some key penalties, and Army also didn't control the ball as well as they like to under the Coach Munkin. So I think that getting back to what they've done well this year, good ball control, fewer penalties, fewer turnovers, I think that's going to be the key in this game.
I think the other key player for Army is Alex Ackerman. The other outside linebackers had a very strong season on the year, 3rd leading tackle, 58. So I think it's really up to Ken Brinson and Ackerman to stop the outside running game of Navy, and I think they'll be able to do that.
Which is not to say Navy doesn't have a good defense. The fact is, Micah Thomas and Sean Williams, they've combined for 149 tackles. So they're a very strong pair of defenders as well. It's just that Army right now, one thing that they've learned this year, they've won so many close games this year, Ken. They lost in overtime to North Texas, but all the other games where they were close, they did manage to pull it out, and that's very impressive. They've really turned a corner this year, and I really look for them to win.
Well, I tend to agree. I think the challenge is going to be, as you said, stopping the Navy passing game. I think, the Army's had very good play out of their cornerbacks, especially James Gibson, who's had really made a reputation as a tough player. Jalen McClinton's played very well, and Elijah Riley, along with Ryan England. So, the pass defense, they got to get a pass rush from, they got to get John Boyd going. They've been doing some blitzes. They've been doing some safety blitzes on occasion, trying to get a sack when they need it. And as you said, they've got to avoid penalties. But someone said that on our page today. Well, Army's just got to make no mistakes, no penalties, play error-free football. It's hard because you're trying to play aggressive football. And playing aggressive football, trying to win, as the coach has said, means you make a mistake once in a while. And you don't want to be tight in a game like this because all of a sudden you find yourself 14-0 down. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, a lot of pageantry before the game. You and I have seen that, starting with some of the events on Friday. We'll be down there for the debate team match. There's a whole bunch of competitions during the day on Friday between the 2 academies. And then on Saturday morning, the march-on of the 2 student bodies, the Corps of Cadets and then the Brigade of Midshipmen. One of the most impressive things you'll see, they go out there in their company formations, about 100 students a company. Very, very impressive tradition of this game. And then a parachute drop and the national anthem, followed by the teams entering the field to flyovers of helicopters from the Army. And I think they're going to get the Blue Angels, considering they're wearing the Blue Angel jerseys for Navy.
Well, from what I've read, they're getting three different representatives from three different squadrons at Air Station Oceana to participate in this. That's what they've announced, at least for their. They may come up with a surprise with the Blue Angels, but this is what officially they've announced. Now, I will point out too that one other name that I think that we should listen for during the broadcast is Tyler Carmona. Tyler Carmona is the leading receiver for Navy. He's caught 14 passes for 381 yards. That goes with the 12 for 301 yards for Perry. These are the two key pass catchers. These are the two key men that the Army defense is going to have to stop.
Yes, also Anthony Gargiulo, who is from New Jersey, 384 yards. He came on strong for them, for Navy late in the season, 3 touchdowns at the fullback. And he got a lot of airtime on the Navy's weekly show, A Season with Navy Football, down on Notre Dame week. They had a chance to visit with his parents, who were justifiably very proud of his accomplishments at the academy. So it'll be interesting. The trump card for Army, they don't know who the quarterback is going to be for Navy. Could be Zach Gaby, who's played most of the year. But Garrett Lewis and Malcolm Perry have played. And we'll see what happens in warm-ups and then in the first series. But I have a feeling he's going to go with the trusted hand, Zach Gaby, who has been thrown for 803 yards and 7 touchdowns, as you said, John. So it's going to be interesting. So we have Jack McGuirk joining us. Jack has been helping us track the Navy football team all season, as well as Air Force and the Maritime College, which finished a very successful season with its bowl game. So, Jack, what do you have for us?
Well, I have some notes about the last game of the year for Air Force. Not a good year for Air Force. They finished the season with a 5-7 record. Very unusual. They're usually very strong, but they finished their season with a 38-35 win at home over Utah State. Now, the interesting thing about this game is they had their backup quarterback, sophomore Isaiah Sanders, made his first start ever for the Falcons, and it was a very strong debut. He rushed for 196 yards, including 3 touchdowns on 44 carries. That's actually a new Air Force record for most carries in a single game. That's not bad for a debut there. Tim McVeigh had a 2-yard touchdown run at the end of the first quarter. The Falcons had 440 yards total offense in the game, 407 rushing. The defense scored when linebacker Grant Ross sacked Utah quarterback Jordan Love in his own end zone, forcing a fumble recovered by Santo Coppola for the Falcons. So as mentioned, Falcons 5-7 record, 4-4 in conference, but very strong debut for Isaiah Sanders. Maybe we'll see him next year at Mikey Stadium for the Army Air Force game.
Well, something I'm sure Air Force is already looking forward to. They knew this was kind of a changeover season. They had a lot of turnover on defense, but they really impressed us with their comeback in the second half against Navy in Annapolis when they were down, I think, John, it was 17 points, and they came back to go ahead, forcing Navy to do a 1-minute drill going down the field, scoring a touchdown pass. It really was remarkable. And going to be a game played by seniors who will be playing, except for the bowl games that each school will go to, their last games. The seniors have all received their branch assignments for the Army in the different branches of the Army. Many of the Army football players going to combat arms areas such as infantry and field artillery. And in the Navy, what we noticed, we talked to 2 of their players down at the media day. Both are going to the Marine Corps, which is a very popular choice among Navy football players, is to join the Marine Corps. They say it's all the closest to being on a team. And so we talked a little bit with Darrell Bonner on that, one of the slot backs on the Navy football team. And so it's going to be an interesting day. And lots of pageantry, but it's all about playing the game. And as I think the coaches all say, the excitement and the nervousness and all that goes away after the first hit, the first play, and then it's playing a football game. And they know how to play football. They've been doing it, but it's a question of who can prevail. it's a game of blocking and tackling. Navy's a little bit better passing team. Army's been very consistent at running the ball. So it could be a special teams play, a punt return, a kickoff return, an interception, a fumble that makes a big difference in this game. So, Jack, just want to thank you for all your help this year. And any final thoughts on the Army-Navy game?
Well, it should be a great game. It'll be interesting to see who's going to be the quarterback for Navy. Zach Abey, as you mentioned, was the starting quarterback at the beginning of the year, but had to leave the game. I think it was a couple of games because of injury, so he's a little banged up. And then there's Malcolm Perry, who actually was a quarterback in high school and was recruited as a quarterback by Navy before making the transition to running back. And he's been an excellent running back. He was their starting running back at the beginning of the year, and great year for him. So it'll be interesting to see who they go with.
Absolutely, and we just want to pass congratulations to Army coach Jeff Monken. He was one of 8 finalists today named by the National Football Foundation for the Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year Award. That's also an award that is organized by the Football Writers Association of America, which we are members of. And so Coach Monken recognized today down in New York on the day that the National Football Foundation names its college new inductees to the College Football Hall of Fame. So again, I just want to thank our sponsors who have helped us all year, White Plains Bake Shop, Lee Kaufman and his group, Marlene Folick at Pro Travel, Dr. Richard Davidson at Westchester Family Chiropractic, and Tommy and his team at Gedney Auto Services, and of course our friends at the Westchester Bank, John Tollimer. We just did an interview. It's up on our Facebook page, West Point Football Report. Appreciate his help for the second year in a row. It allows us to do more, allows us to go on the road and just be able to do more to tell the story of Army football, West Point, and the U.S. military. So for Jack McGuirk and for John Chuhran, stay tuned on Saturday to our Facebook page, West Point Football Report, and our Twitter at Sons Legion Radio, and we'll have a lot of coverage of the Army-Navy game, all the pageantry, post-game interviews with from both coaches. So it's going to be a big day for us. So from downtown White Plains, New York, and Post 135 of the American Legion, this is Ken Kraetzer for Sons of the American Legion Radio and the West Point Football Report.